Some dreams are harmless, some are traps. At 3 in the morning, when the world sleeps, nightmares awaken. What if you woke up and realized you were still trapped? This is the story of Elias, a boy who can never wake. Watch closely, because the deeper he goes, the closer it gets to you.
There was once a boy named Elias who fell into a deep sleep one night. In his dream, he wandered through streets that felt familiar but twisted. His home was nowhere to be found. He searched and searched, but every turn led him further away. Suddenly he woke up sweating. Just a dream, he thought. But when he looked out the window, his heart froze. This wasn't his neighborhood. The houses were strange, the roads unknown. Curious but afraid, he stepped outside. The air was heavy, silent. He realized he hadn't been handcuffed, chained, or locked away, but he was lost. Deeply lost. Something inside warned him, if you stay, worse will happen. So he walked. He crossed thick bushes, dark forests, and endless stretches of nowhere. His legs ached, his chest burned. But finally, he stumbled into a village. People stood around staring, and among them, his mother. Tears in her eyes, arms wide open, he ran to her. "Mom, how long was I gone?" She hugged him tight. "Only 2 hours, my son." His eyes widened. 2 hours? But I've been wandering for days. The words stuck in his throat as everything blurred. His mother's face faded, the village dissolved, and Elias woke up again. In his own bed, in the middle of the night. The clock read 3 a.m. He sat up, trembling. Was it a dream or another layer? He got up, walked to his window, and froze. The streets outside still weren't his. Elias stood by the window, staring at the unfamiliar streets. His heart pounded, but this time he didn't run outside. Instead, he explored the house. Room by room, it was silent. No footsteps, no voices, no mother waiting with open arms. Yesterday, at least what felt like yesterday, she had hugged him. But now, nothing. Elias whispered, was she real, or just part of the dream? For the first time, he stopped trying to escape. He sat on the couch and breathed deeply. If I keep chasing home, I'll never find it. Maybe I should just stay. The idea felt strange, but also freeing. He decided, I'll build a life here. I'll be the best version of myself, even if this isn't home. Days passed. Though Elias couldn't tell if they were real days or dream days. He learned the paths of the strange town. He grew comfortable. He even laughed again, though there was no one to laugh with. But one night, as he sat by the window, he saw something that chilled him. Across the street, through another window, a boy was staring back at him. The boy looked exactly like him. Same face, same eyes, same trembling hands on the glass. Elias whispered to himself, if I'm here, then who is he? Elias couldn't look away. The boy across the street was his mirror. Same clothes. Same messy hair, same terrified eyes. But the strangest thing? The other Elias was mouthing words. Elias leaned closer to the glass, heart thundering. The boy across the street mouthed again, don't trust this place. Elias blinked. His throat went dry. Don't trust what? Who are you? He whispered. The other Elias raised a trembling hand, pointed at the house Elias was in, then shook his head violently as if warning him. Before Elias could react, the lights in the other house flickered and went out, plunging. The mirror version into darkness. Silence. Elias's breath quickened. I have to know. He rushed outside, crossing the strange, silent street. His bare feet slapped against the pavement as he reached the house where his double had stood. The door creaked open with a push. Inside, the air was freezing. Dust floated in the pale moonlight. The living room was empty. except for a diary lying on the table. The cover had his name on it. He opened it. The first page read, "Elias, stop running. Every time you try to wake up, you only fall deeper." His hand shook as he turned the page, only to find it blank. Completely blank. Then in the silence, he heard footsteps behind him. Slow. Heavy. Coming closer. He spun around. It was himself. But this Elias was older. His face sharp, his eyes hollow, his smile twisted. "You finally came," the older version whispered. "Now it's my turn to leave." Elias stumbled back, his chest tightening. The older version of him stepped closer, shadows clinging to his figure. His smile wasn't kind, it was tired. "You don't understand yet, do you?" the older Elias said. His voice was raspier, heavier, as if carrying years of pain. "I've been here longer than you can imagine. Every time you wake up, it's still the same dream. The house, the streets, the silence." Elias shook his head. No, I'll find a way out. I saw Mom, I saw people." The older Elias slammed the diary shut. "Illusions, bait. They keep you chasing so you'll never stop running. That's how they trap you deeper," Elias whispered. "Who are they?" But the older version only laughed bitterly. "You'll learn, the same way I did. And when you do, you'll beg to switch places." Before Elias could move, the older version grabbed his arm. The moment their skin touched, Elias felt a flood of memories that weren't his. Years of wandering forests, endless doors that led nowhere, watching his reflection grow older each time he woke up. And then, emptiness. Elias yanked his arm free, gasping. His older self leaned in, whispering, "If you want to survive, stop trying to go home. Because home doesn't exist here." Then the lights in the house flickered, once, twice, before going out completely. When they came back on, the older Elias was gone, but the diary was open again. And now, words had appeared on the blank page. "Your turn begins now." The diary snapped shut on its own. Elias froze, clutching it against his chest, when a low hum filled the air. Not like electricity, not like machines, more like whispers. He dropped the diary. The whispers grew louder, circling him, pressing in from the walls, the ceiling, even the floorboards. "Home, home, home," they chanted in distorted voices. Elias clamped his hands over his ears, but the sound drilled straight into his skull. Desperate, he bolted out of the house. The street was no longer the street. Houses had stretched unnaturally tall, windows twisting into warped shapes like faces silently screaming. The moon above hung too close, cracked like broken glass. And then he saw them. Figures, dozens of them, lurking at the edges of the warped houses. Thin, pale, faceless. Yet every one of them wore his mother's dress. "Come home, Elias," they whispered in unison, their voices layered, echoing. His legs trembled. He turned and ran. The ground beneath him softened. Suddenly, he was running through endless black water, his feet splashing but never sinking. Behind him, the faceless figures followed, their footsteps silent, their dresses dragging across the water without ripples. "Home, home," he screamed, pushing forward, until finally he stumbled out of the black water into the forest again. Branches clawed at his arms. The trees leaned in too close, whispering words he couldn't understand. But ahead he saw a faint light, a warm, flickering glow. He ran for it, his lungs burning. Bursting through the trees, he found himself standing in front of a small cabin. Inside, through the window, a boy was sitting at a table, writing. Elias pressed his face to the glass, and his blood ran cold. The boy inside was himself, younger, writing in the diary. The exact same diary Elias had been holding. And as the boy wrote, words appeared on the page in Elias's own hand. "You will never wake up." The boy inside stopped writing. Slowly, he lifted his head, his eyes locked with Elias through the glass, and this younger version smiled. Elias stumbled back from the cabin, his heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst. But before he could run, the world itself began to twist. The trees warped into screaming faces. The sky cracked like shattered glass, revealing not stars but eyes, countless, blinking, judging eyes. The whispers returned, louder, sharper, slicing through his thoughts. "You cannot wake. You are ours." Elias fell to his knees, trembling. He tried to blink away the terror, to close his eyes and hope it would end, but the darkness followed him inside his eyelids. He opened them again. The forest was gone. He was back in his bedroom, or at least what looked like his bedroom. The walls were crooked, colors muted, shadows crawling along the corners. His clock read 3 a.m. again. He ran to the door, locked. The window, just a black void. The whispers pressed into his ears again, inside his skull this time. Desperate, Elias grabbed a chair and smashed the window. He climbed through, and landed not on the street, not outside, but inside another version of his room. Everything familiar but slightly wrong. The bed was larger, darker, the walls taller, stretching endlessly upward. A figure sat on the bed. It was his mother, or it looked like her. Her eyes were hollow black voids. Her lips moved in perfect sync. But the sound was all wrong, metallic, echoing like a distorted recording. "Elias," she said, "you shouldn't have come back." Before he could speak, the walls behind her peeled away like paper, revealing corridors filled with dozens of him. Every age, every version, trapped in small glass cages. Each Elias was screaming silently, pounding against invisible walls. The hollow mother's smile widened. They wanted to wake up. But now you'll join them. The floor gave way beneath him, plunging him into darkness. The whispers turned into a deafening roar. "Welcome to the dream within the dream within the dream. You will never leave," Elias screamed. And then he woke up. But the ceiling above his bed wasn't his room anymore. It was a vast, endless black void. His arms reached out and touched nothing. The whispers returned. Close, breathing, waiting, and somewhere, far away, he heard a child's voice, his own, calling from inside the void. "Help me, wake up." Elias floated in the void, weightless, screaming into a darkness that swallowed the sound. The whispers had become voices, countless, overlapping, repeating every fear he'd ever had. "Home. You can't. Wake. Never. Escape." He tried to move, but his body was not his own. Every limb felt wrong, stretched, twisted. When he looked down, he saw dozens of small versions of himself crawling across his arms, climbing his legs, their mouths open in silent screams. Panic gripped him. "This isn't real! This isn't real!" he shouted. But the void responded. Shapes began forming, buildings like warped towers, forests with trees that screamed when touched, rivers that flowed upward into the sky. Every detail was just off, like someone had taken reality and melted it in a fever dream. And then, a voice, calm, metallic, omnipresent. "Elias, you're finally awake." He spun around. The void shifted, and suddenly he was back in his bedroom. The walls, the bed, the clock, everything exactly as before. The clock read 3 a.m. He ran to the door, locked. The window, another black abyss. A faint giggle echoed behind him. He turned. There he was, himself. Not the little version, not the older version, exactly him. But every movement slightly delayed, like a reflection in water. Who are you?" Elias gasped. "I'm you," the other Elias said softly. "The one who stayed. The one who finally accepted it." Accepted what? That home doesn't exist. That the world outside is just a layer of the dream. That waking up is a trap. Elias stumbled backward, falling into his bed, but the bed was no longer soft. The mattress stretched infinitely, swallowing him like quicksand. And as he fell, the walls peeled away to reveal a city made entirely of glass cages, each one holding another Elias, screaming, clawing, twisting. The calm voice returned. "Every time you think you escape, you only go deeper. Every waking moment is a layer. Every thought is a trap. The dream chooses who stays." Elias tried to scream, but no sound came. His eyes opened again. and he was back in the void. He wasn't sure how long he had been falling. Hours? Days? Centuries? The whispers had changed. You will never wake. You will never leave. You will never know which layer is real. Then faintly, a light. A single glowing window, floating in the blackness. His heart thumped. Could it be an exit? He ran toward it. And as he reached out, the whispers changed tone. Or maybe, you're already home. Elias dove toward the glowing window, his arms reaching out as the whispers screamed in fury. Stop, you cannot leave. You do not exist. He passed through the light. And for a moment, the void vanished. He was in his bedroom. His blankets were tucked neatly, the walls exactly as he remembered. His clock read 7:15 a.m. Sunlight spilled through the window. Relief washed over him. I'm awake, finally. But the floor creaked. He turned. There he was, himself sitting at the edge of the bed, eyes wide, frozen in shock. I just woke up, Elias stammered. The other version of himself whispered, trembling. No, you haven't. You've never woken up. None of us have. Elias's blood ran cold. The room melted. Walls warped. The floor stretched like rubber. The ceiling dissolved into smoke. Outside the window, the sun turned black, raining whispers instead of light. He tried the door. It opened into another bedroom, slightly bigger, slightly darker. Another version of him lay in bed, eyes snapping open, screaming silently. Every door he opened, every mirror he looked into, another Elias stared back. All terrified, all trapped, all screaming, but no sound escaped. The whispers had become chanting, relentless, insistent. Layer upon layer, dream upon dream. Home is nothing. Wake is impossible. You are ours, forever. Elias ran down a hallway that seemed to stretch into infinity. Rooms appeared on both sides. Rooms he remembered from his childhood. Rooms he had never seen. Rooms that didn't belong anywhere. Every door he opened led him deeper. Every window showed a new nightmare city. Endless forests, oceans of black water, skies full of watching eyes. And then he saw it, a version of himself sitting at a desk, writing in a diary. He recognized the diary, the same diary. His hands reached out instinctively. But the moment he touched it, a ripple went through all versions of him, screaming in silent agony. The writing on the page changed, forming a single, horrifying line. There is no waking. Only layers, only us. Only the dream, Elias screamed. He closed his eyes and opened them. He was back in bed, but the walls were gone. The ceiling, the floor, the blankets, they had disappeared. He floated in black nothingness, and around him, infinite versions of himself spun, twisted, and writhed, each one whispering, screaming, clawing. And above it all, a faint familiar voice. Elias, welcome home. He realized he had never left. The world he thought he knew was just one more layer, and every time he thought he had woken up, he had only slipped deeper. He would never escape. And somewhere, far away, endlessly repeating, the first scream he ever made, the first step he ever took, the first breath he ever drew, all echoes trapped in the infinite dream. Elias closed his eyes, and the whispers began anew. Layer upon layer, forever.